great state of Texas, you can count on big barbecues and fast side-by-side racing. Texas Motor Speedway has caught more of the great racing action than any other racetrack that the Craftsman Truck Series visits. Brendan Gaughan knows he's won here 4 times.
Brendan's going across the line.
Brendan Gaughan, checkered flag. Brendan Gaughan continues to pull it away.
This one's going to be big.
Texas Motor Speedway. Giddy up, cowboy.
That you could not forget. Lone Star, this is what victory lane's all about.
Looking for the checkered flag is Brendan Gaughan.
Welcome back to Texas. Yeehaw!
Welcome to the Lone Star State for race number 9 for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Speed Channel's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series pre-race show is presented by Craftsman. Beautiful day in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, 87 degrees, and the sun beginning to set over the largest state in the 50. Take a look at the Ford top 10 point standings. Ted Musgrave up on top. Ricky Craven has taken over the number 2 spot from defending champion Bobby Hamilton. And moving into that top 10, currently at 9th, the driver of the 75 Spears Manufacturing Chevrolet, David Starr. He's standing by with Ray.
Well, thank you, Rick. David Starr has had great success at this racetrack. 3 times you've finished 3rd, but I got to wonder, what would it really mean to you? Have you given the real thought of what it would be like to actually go to victory lane in your home state?
That'd probably be the biggest thing that happened in my career, but I tell you what, just being part of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series has just been a dream for me, and Dave McCarty's gave me a good Chevrolet Silverado tonight, and hopefully we can be there at the end of the race and maybe finally bring that thing home first. So it's always tough to win these races, and something about coming home to Texas here, racing here in front of my home crowd, and it's just been tough. You know, we can't ever seem to get across the start-finish line first, but we'll see what we can do tonight.
Well, he's going to have a lot of fans up there rooting for him for sure, but now we need to hear from the guy who's right at the top of the field, Mike Skinner, on the pole tonight here at Texas, and Wendy's standing by with him.
Thanks, Ray. This is our 9th event of the year. Mike Skinner's 3rd pole of the season. Mike's becoming our Ryan Newman of the Truck Series of sorts. As the sun goes down here in Texas, what's going to happen to the track, Mike?
Well, hopefully the racetrack will just get more grip in it, Wendy, and you know, if the balance stays the same, I think our Tundra will be really, really good. If the race tightens up an awful lot, we're going to be in trouble.
Okay, Mike Skinner has 2 truck starts here at Texas. The best finish has been 11th. Rick?
Pageantry continuing at Texas Motor Speedway. Always a big show when we come to Texas. Rick Crawford would love to win at this state.
But I love the curve.
Speed Channel's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series pre-race show is brought to you by Craftsman, celebrating 10 years tough of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And in celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Truck Series, we present the toughest NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series moments made possible by Craftsman, the official tools of NASCAR. Moment 17 is an amazing accomplishment. Las Vegas native Brendan Gaughan won 4 consecutive races at Texas Motor Speedway from June 2002 until October 2003. No one in the history of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series has dominated one track more than Brendan Gaughan in Texas. The only other time Brendan raced at Texas, he finished 2nd. He's in tonight's field for the first time since he left victory lane, and he is looking for win number 5. Brendan Gaughan 4 starts at Texas, and he has been dominant. Currently standing by with Ray Dunlap.
Well, Rick, if there's any question about what physical chassis is here, it's this old baby right here. It's T1, the oldest truck in the field, but you have to bring it, right? I mean, you've won 4 races with this truck, but 30th in qualifying. What's up with that?
Well, you know, a couple of times we've come from the back, but we wanted to bring a different truck, but when it wrecked at Dover, Rambo said, you know, we got to go with the old standby. And Lone Star's been good to us. Now it's got Jasper paint scheme, got a little yellow thing, but see if we can't get one more win from the back with her.
How hard will it be to come from way back there against this field?
This field's different than when we were here. I mean, there's a lot of competition, a lot of great race car drivers, but just going to go to the high side like always. That's the only way I know around this track, and see if I can't find some air for Lone Star's nose all alone and take her to the front.
Well, I'll guarantee you we'll all be watching. Brendan Gaughan rolls off in 30th. Rick?
When in Texas, bigger is not always better. Last year, David Rudiman was a part of one of the biggest hits in the Truck Series. But thanks to the safer barriers, he's back in Texas tonight and ready to take on this 1.5 mile super speedway.
I remember it was shortly after a restart, and just waiting for the tire pressures to come up there, and we were kind of hanging out there. Had a good truck that day.
This may be the day for David Rudiman.
I was on the outside of Bill Lester. We were just racing along there, and Bill and I were racing off the corner, and his truck got my truck took the air off of his truck got loose, and
Big hit. That was Bill Lester, I believe, in the 22. David Rudiman and Chad Chapman also involved.
I knew he was on the inside of me. I never knew any of that was happening until the truck turned right, and we went ahead and stuffed it in the fence there.
Bill Lester's truck comes to a stop just in front of the grandstands.
After that point, didn't remember anything.
David Rudiman made contact with the inside wall.
Hearing our team manager, Bobby Kennedy's voice, and thinking that he was going to be in a lot of trouble because he was on the racetrack and he wasn't supposed to be.
We've got serious damage on David Rudiman's truck. Let's keep our fingers crossed for these drivers.
The good Lord was looking after me, and the simple fact that NASCAR, with all the safety innovations they come up with, the Hans device, I was wearing the Hans, of course, and the safer barriers that they have now, the walls, soft walls, and bringing all those pieces of the puzzle together. I mean, that's why I'm here today, and it was just, it's something that happened. It's just like having a bad day at work. You just get up next week and go again.
A scary day for all involved. Fortunately, David Rudiman walked away unharmed. David, what do you think about this track at Texas now? Your career best finish actually came from this track 1 year ago today.
Yeah, I mean, I still one of my favorite racetracks. I mean, last year's last year. That's old news. Just got to move on. No big deal.
Now, you start 23rd tonight. How are you going to make it to the front? This is the same truck you had in Dover. Is it as good?
I think it is. I don't know why we didn't run any faster in qualifying with it, but I think we can get this NT and Bearing Toyota Tundra to the front. If we just got to be careful, got to race smart, not beat ourselves. And one thing I got to say, we're thinking about Van Colley. He had a little bit of surgery done today. Thinking about him, praying about him, and hopefully he'd be back here at the racetrack with us soon.
Okay, good luck to Van. Good luck to you tonight. Now let's check in with my colleague, Ray Dunlap.
Well, thank you, Wendy. Ted Musgrave has the Mopar Dodge back in the field, but he's been pretty good here at Texas. A third, a second, and a sixth in your last 3 races. What's the strategy going to be tonight for you to try to get through there and work your way back to the front?
I'm not quite sure, Ray. I guess just be a little bit patient, get it on the high side, and get it working a little bit better out there. I think it'll keep the momentum up in the Dodge, because this same truck I had at Charlotte took a while to get to the front, but once it was up there, it stayed there.
Okay. Good luck. That is Ted Musgrave in the Mopar Dodge. Guys?
Pre-race activities continuing. We go down now for our invocation and national anthem.
Invocation. Heavenly Father, we pause this evening to give you thanks for the freedom that we have to enjoy a great night of NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series racing. And for the soldiers who defend our freedoms, we ask your divine protection. Now, Father, watch over these fans. We thank you for their attendance. We pray that you'll watch over the competitors and give them an opportunity to do their very best as they race tonight. In Jesus' name we pray it. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please remain standing and welcome Karen Quinn as she performs tonight's national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave that flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Spectacular crowd on hand for tonight's event. We're under the lights at Texas Motor Speedway. Always a great show in Texas. Sparks will be flying under the lights at Texas Motor Speedway. Welcome to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Chex 400K presented on Speed Channel by Briggs & Stratton. Hello everyone, I'm Rick Allen alongside of Phil Parsons and John Andretti. The last 3 races, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series have set track records, including Texas. Now, Phil, are we going to see great racing at Texas?
Rick, NASCAR took a little bit of rear spoiler away from these trucks for this race in Texas. That means they have about 100 pounds less downforce pushing on the back. Most of the drivers in the garage area think that now they're going to be able to drive up behind another truck, get them loose, move them up the racetrack out of the way, and be able to pass them. More side-by-side racing, more passing, means great racing.
Well, we've seen great side-by-side racing earlier this year at mile-and-a-half tracks, John.
Mile-and-a-half quad oval racetracks, Charlotte, Atlanta, Texas. They all speak good racing, but you talk about Atlanta, it looks, it drives, and it races just like Texas. So I think that when we had a finish at Atlanta where you could take a blanket and cover the top 6 finishers, that's what we can expect tonight. Now Charlotte races nothing like Texas, so don't expect to see what we see in Charlotte here.
And that's a good thing, because our last Charlotte race we had 11 cautions. Our last Atlanta race, 8 1/1000ths of a second separated first and second. Take a look at the Craftsman track description, this mile-and-a-half quad oval.
See the banks, 24 degrees in the corners, straightaways just 5 degrees, relatively flat. Long front straightaway, they reach speeds upwards of 185 miles an hour entering the corners here at Texas.
Our Craftsman race analysis, 36 trucks starting this race.
See the purse, a little bit over $600,000. The pit window for these trucks, somewhere between 60-65 laps.
Sun begins to go down, meaning the track cooling off a little bit. We might see higher speeds than what we saw qualifying.
This was really the first time that the trucks have ever raced here at night when they didn't have a night practice. They have a new impound rule here, so the trucks qualified yesterday, late yesterday, but all their practicing was done during the day.
Our last race, Dover, was rained out. The clouds looking a little ominous in the distance here at Texas, but the weatherman has said no hint of rain during this race, so we know we're going to get it in. And to start it off, we've got to start the engine. So let's go down for tonight's command.
Fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. To give that command, please welcome Jenny Schultz, Marketing Associate, Chex brand for General Mills.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines!
Very well done for that command. The drivers are all buckled in. The next thing we need to see is the green flag. We'll see it at Texas Motor Speedway coming up next. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Speed Channel is brought to you in part by Briggs & Stratton, the largest manufacturer of pressure washers in America. By Craftsman, celebrating 10 years tough of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And by GM employee pricing for everyone at participating dealers. Ends July 5th. Let's take a look at our Briggs & Stratton starting grid. Up front, Mike Skinner setting a new track record, his 20th career pole. He'll be on the inside. Rick Crawford on the outside. He'd love to find a win for his owner, Tom Mitchell, from Texas.
Johnny Benson starts on the outside of road number 2. He finished second the very last race here last fall.
And Chad Chaffin, he starts 6th. Chad is driving for the same team that won a race here at Texas last year with Todd Bodine's wheel.
There's Deborah Renshaw, her best qualifying effort of 9th, coming off her best career finish of 12th at Dover last week.
Dennis Setzer, defending winner of this race. He'll start on the inside of row 7.
We got Ron Hoare today, who also won the race in Atlanta that we talked about earlier.
How about Timothy Peters? Finished 6th at Dover last week, and only his 4th career start starts inside row 11.
Terry Cook, who's had a 2nd and a 3rd place in the last 2 races, brought that truck here. See how he does tonight.
Todd Bodine starting in the 27th position. He was the last one to win on Texas Motor Speedway.
Look at Brendan Gaughan, way back in the 30th position, going for 5 in a row here.
And Brendan Gaughan talked about going to the outside and making all the passes. Well, he's got a fast 29 to get up front. Bobby Hamilton, he is one of the drivers that is doing the double, as well as Johnny Sauter. They will be going to the back because they were not at the drivers' meeting. Johnny Sauter also making an engine change to that 15. We're going to ride along with a few trucks. First one we ride along with is Ted Musgrave in the Mopar Dodge. He starts 26, so we'll be able to watch him dice his way through the field.
Terry Cook coming off a couple finishes. He had 2nd at Charlotte, 3rd at Dover. He's really on a roll looking for another top 5 here at Texas.
We got Jimmy Spencer out there. Always exciting. You know that Jimmy's going to make it wild, and he'll be on the inside, outside, up the backside.
Dennis Setzer, the defending winner of this race. He'll start 13th, so we'll see if he's able to get his Chevy up to the front.
Johnny Benson, great qualifying effort for Johnny. Starts 4th in his Toyota.
And, of course, Rick Crawford looking for that win here in Texas. So should be exciting for him as well.
Mike Skinner's got a chance to win $8,000 for his team if he can win the Craftsman Win from the Pole Award. If Mike's not able to win it tonight, then another $2,000 is added to the prize money. $2,000 will continue to be added until somebody wins that prize. Let's go down trackside to Ray Dunlap.
Well, thank you, Rick. Temperature is certainly going to be one of the big factors. You heard Phil talk about how it's cooled down a little bit. Well, let's take a look with this barometer right here. If I zoom this thing down on the ground, you see my little dot there hitting the ground, 88 degrees. Well, guess what? Yesterday afternoon we practiced at 1 p.m. The track temperature, 117 degrees. That's a big difference of what we're about to start this race with. So a lot of guys not quite sure what we're going to see here. Now, we know that this track is definitely going to tighten up tonight. There's no doubt about that. The new spoiler, a different condition than we practice. It could be very interesting at the start tonight. Wendy?
Rick Crawford has 3 wins in the Truck Series, but none of them have come here in Texas. A win today would be extra special for the Circle Bar team since their owner, Mr. Tom Mitchell, is based in Texas. A brand new chassis today, a test that was successful last month. They've been quick all weekend. The 14 team definitely brought their A-game tonight in front of their hometown crowd.
We've got some radio communications with Johnny Benson. Let's see if we can talk to Johnny. JB, Phil Parsons, can you hear me, buddy?
Hey, Phil, you're loud and clear.
Johnny, you were oh so close the last time here. Finished 2nd to Todd Bodine. You got a great qualifying effort in 4th. You got enough to get it done tonight?
Well, I sure hope so. Greg Ely and everybody and his Toyota certified used vehicles. Tundra has done a tremendous job. It's the first time I've been here at night, so not sure what to expect here a little bit to start with, but we'll make some changes and see if we can't get them here at the end.
Johnny, we talked about having a little bit less spoiler here than you had at Texas last year. Is that throwing you any curves during practice?
No, everything pretty much felt the same. Greg and the guys made a couple adjustments just for that, and I really couldn't tell a big difference, so I think we'll be in pretty good shape.
All right, Johnny, you're probably going to get one to go here, so get buckled up and have a good one.
All right, thanks, Phil. Everybody have a fun time up in the booth. Looking forward to helping you guys next week at Milwaukee. Here we are,
Look at that. He's already focusing on the TV aspect of this job. He will be joining us in Milwaukee a week from tonight. 2 weeks, actually, for that Busch race that we'll be doing up in Milwaukee. Next week, obviously, is Michigan. So we'll go to the very fast track of Michigan. Now, we talked a little bit about the new spoilers changes. One thing I noticed, Phil and John, during practices, we didn't see a lot of trucks running together. We saw a lot of single truck runs out there. Is that going to throw them a curve when they get into big bunches tonight, like the start?
Well, I think it will. Obviously, when you get the start, you get a little bit of time to go down there. You can feel your truck out. When they did qualifying, some drivers are saying and some teams are saying that we can run wide open for 20, 25 laps. I don't know. Maybe that'll be more tonight. Maybe not. I think if the track tightens up, you mentioned Mike Skinner. He talked about it. If the track tightens up a little bit, he may get in trouble because I think his truck for qualifying was probably a little bit on the snug side.
Down the backstretch they go. Randy Kaiser pacing the field still in the pace truck. Again, as the sun sets, this track will change because of the temperature. Ray had touched on it being about 88 degrees right now. As the ambient temperature goes down, the track temperature also will go down. And the track tighten up, Phil?
Well, I think it will. Most of the crew chiefs in the garage here think the track will get a little bit tighter. But all of them know that the track is going to have more grip. A few guys think it might be a little bit looser, but most of the guys think the track is going to tighten up and will probably get tighter as the night wears on.
We're about to find out as the Chex 400K presented on Speed Channel by Briggs & Stratton about to get underway. Mike Skinner, Rick Crawford lead the field, and we're underway at Texas Motor Speedway. One week ago in Dover, we didn't make it an entire lap before we had a problem coming out of turn number 2. Already side-by-side dicing 3 wide as they come out of turn number 2 down the backstretch.
That's not the way you really want to start a race that's 167 laps long, but they're all going to dice to the front, aren't they?
Jimmy Spencer's slowed down a little bit. He was on the inside of a 3-wide battle. You see him getting passed by Terry Cook on the outside.
Skinner leads lap number 1. 5 bonus points going to him for leading a lap. Mike Skinner has had dominant trucks this year where he's been able to just run out front and be almost the class of the field many times.
He had such a good run going at Lowe's Motor Speedway a few weeks ago. Really had a big lead and ended up crashing with a lap truck, and it really took him completely out of contention. But Mike Skinner's truck's been really, really good. He had a good top 10 finish last week, and he said it was probably our worst effort.
Beginning to string out now. Skinner leading David Starr, Rick Crawford, Bill Lester, Johnny Benson, your top 5.
We actually had a truck that came off of turn 4. It looked like Terry Cook. They might have just brushed the wall. I'm not quite sure about that.
Good side-by-side battle right there. Robert Huffman, the 12 truck on the inside. Jack Sprague, the 16 truck on the outside. You see Ron Hornaday doing double duty. Going to race tomorrow in Nashville in the Busch race on FX.
You mentioned Robert Huffman. Now, last week he was involved in that first lap accident with Steve Park, and they had just gotten a talking to from their owner, Darrell Waltrip, who said, don't beat yourself. They even have that on the dash of their trucks. Don't beat yourself. I think Robert Huffman learned that lesson the hard way last week.
I think it's so easy to do. You get out there, the adrenaline's going, everybody wants to get to the front right away, but you'll see a guy like Bobby Hamilton start in the back and follow his progress as the race goes on. But you just see him methodically come up through the field, not taking a lot of chances, just getting it in the right position at the right time.
Got a side-by-side battle for second. Rick Crawford moves to the inside of David Starr. Going to be able to make that pass. We wondered if we were going to see some more passing. All the crew chiefs and the drivers in the garage here said we are going to see more passing. It's going to be easier to pass.
Top 5 stringing themselves out. Rick Crawford moving to the front. They tested here. Cowboy Starlin, his crew chief, said they thought that this would be a great track for them. Their test was very, very successful. They think they might be able to win this race. Wendy?
And that win also always takes a little bit extra time on these tracks, and that was certainly done by the 14 team. They were here just a few weeks ago testing, and during that test session, they had pretty much the same weather conditions that we had here this weekend in Texas. So they were able to apply all those notes to this weekend at this track. The other 4 teams were actually coming up to the crew chief, Kevin Cowboy Starlin, and asking him for advice on what they should do to their Ford trucks. So the 14 team seems to have an advantage here tonight.
There's a 30 truck right there. That's Chad Chaffin. That's the truck that won this race, actually won the fall race with Ty Bodine behind the wheel. You see him, he was able to get by the 22 of Bill Lester. You see Ron Hornaday, the 6 truck on the inside.
You had mentioned double duty. Ron Hornaday going to be running the Nashville Busch race tomorrow, and he is really a man on the move as he moves to the inside of the, it looks like 12 truck of Robert Huffman.
You know, we talked about that thrilling Atlanta finish back a few months ago. Well, that's the cat that won the race by 8 1/1000ths of a second over Bobby Labonte.
Bill Lester on the outside moving backwards right now. Jack Sprague getting by him, and now Dennis Setzer looking on the inside. Battle for 11th. Ricky Craven in the 99 and Terry Cook in the number 10. We're riding on board with the Power Stroke Diesel by International number 10.
Looks like Brandon Witt right behind Terry Cook.
Well, we heard a lot of drivers talk about, I want to get up on the high side, I want to get up on the high side. They're not going to get up there yet until they get the tires worn probably a little bit. Don't you think, Phil?
That's right. They want to, right now, that are the best conditions they're going to have. They've got their air pressures built up in the tires. They all qualified with new tires, so they just had a couple laps on these tires when they started this race. So right now, the conditions are optimal.
Bill Lester and Ricky Craven continue to battle side by side, but it's Mike Skinner who's led all 10 laps so far. We'll see if he can hold on and finally get that win this year. Tomorrow live on Speed Channel at 5 p.m. Eastern. It's qualifying for the NASCAR Busch Series from Nashville. The stars of the Busch Series will battle it out to the top spot for Saturday night's Federated Auto Parts 300. That's Busch qualifying again live 5 p.m. tomorrow night from Nashville, only on Speed Channel. Mike Skinner holding on to the top spots, and he begins to lap the slower lap trucks now.
It really looks like Mike Skinner's trying to run away and hide, but Rick Crawford is keeping him at bay, but back there they're battling in third place. Top few spots haven't changed, though, really, since the beginning.
See, Johnny Benson looks to the inside. David Starr.
Go through the quad oval. Johnny Benson takes away the spot from the 75, Ray?
Well, guys, we talked about how this track is going to tighten up. That may be really bad news for David Starr because he's extremely tight coming off of turn 4. And you see, oh, just a little bit of contact there as he loses another spot. Chad Chapman will make the move by. So Starr losing positions early on here as he's just dropped 2 spots. The reason his truck is way too tight off of turn 4.
And that's probably going to get worse, Ray. Everyone talks about this track tightening up. We talked about it earlier in the show. If he's too tight right now, he probably needs to make some wholesale adjustments on his first pit stop. Watch Ron Hornaday. See if he can drive up behind David Starr, get him a little bit loose. Even though David Starr's a little bit too tight, when the truck drives up behind you, it takes air off the rear spoiler. It gets you a little bit loose.
Also, when you get tight, you put a lot more wheel into it. When he does get you loose, it tends to want to jump a lot more loose than just a little bit. Ron obviously has made a big jump.
Ron Hornaday currently running in 6th position. Skinner, Crawford, Benson, Chapman, Starr, the top 5 so far. Ron Hornaday, Jack Sprague, Robert Huffman, Dennis Setzer, and Ricky Craven rounding out your top 10. Hornaday makes the pass. Wendy.
Hornaday dominated most of Dover last week, and he said, you know what? Not winning that race just makes us want it even more tonight in Texas. Now, they were not that good in practice to begin with. Crew Chief Wally Rogers told me they were chasing their tails all day in practice. They eventually went back to the setup that they unloaded in the beginning of the week, so Ron Hornaday has gone back to his original setup.
I think a lot of the crew chiefs came here wondering about the new spoiler and what kind of adjustments they would need to make for the new spoiler. But most of the crew chiefs in the garage I talked to said, hey, we really have some unknowns here because we're not going to practice at night. So I think our best notes are from the races we run here in the past. So most of the crew chiefs went back like they were last year and really almost threw practice out the window.
And do you consider that a negative, the way NASCAR has impounded the trucks now, to where we didn't have an opportunity to run these trucks in a race condition as far as temperatures and under the lights?
Well, most of the crew chiefs don't mind the impound, but they would like to see maybe the schedule moved around a little bit where they would have a practice at night. Maybe their second practice, instead of being at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe run in at night and then qualify even later than that.
Mike Skinner able to hold off Rick Crawford, Johnny Benson, Chad Chapman, and David Starr so far in Texas. We'll see if he can continue. Welcome back to the Chex 400K presented on Speed Channel by Briggs & Stratton. Mike Skinner the dominant truck again this year. We'll see if he can hold on and hold off the competitors.
Mike Skinner won 16 races in the Truck Series back in the first 2 years, 1995, 1996. Hasn't won since.
He's actually shot himself in the foot this year earlier after being the dominant truck.
And we're about getting about halfway to a fuel run, so people are starting to figure out where their trucks are at and really wanting to. Some trucks are really wanting a caution. Obviously, Mike Skinner's not one of them.
Battle for 7th and 8th. We see David Starr just in front of Dennis Setzer.
David Starr started up front, remained up front for the most part. He's got a pretty good truck here. Got passed by a couple trucks by Rick Crawford, Johnny Benson, Chad Chapman, but still holding steady, and it looks like the 5th position.
John, what's your mentality when you've got a truck that's too tight and you're thinking, I need a caution so I can make a change, and there's no cautions coming out?
Well, the first thing you do is you really try to preserve the right front. You try to keep it underneath you, because the tighter you get, the more you drive on it, the more air pressure you build in, and then it's just going to get worse and worse. And sometimes moving around the racetrack here at Texas, even moving up, you can get against that gray and you can get the car to turn. It's the same way, talked again, like Atlanta being so much like that. You can get up there and get the truck to turn and get it to turn better. The tight slices on the racetrack are going to be up off the corners.
And John, you talked earlier about a lot of the drivers talking about being able to run 20 laps wide open, 25 laps wide open. Well, they're probably not running many laps wide open, but they're all but wide open. It's so easy to get on that right front tire like you're talking about and make that air pressure go way, way up.
And you'll see that, and maybe as Mike Skinner closes in on the back of the field, he'll start struggling because he'll lose the air on the front of the truck, and it'll start getting tighter for him too, because obviously right now he's really well balanced. He can get right down on the bottom line and hold it there.
Riding along with Dennis Setzer in that Chevy Silverado. Dennis Setzer, the last winner of this race, the 400K race run at Texas Motor Speedway. Problems with the 08, Johnny Chapman getting stopped in the grass in the infield. And so our first caution will come out. Johnny Chapman jumping out of that truck, or wanting to get out of it as quickly as possible. It looks like there's some smoke coming out of there as well.
Not sure exactly what went wrong with Johnny. It's his first start this year in the Truck Series.
Looks like he's overcome with something. I'm not quite sure.
Saw a little bit of smoke maybe inside the truck. I don't know if maybe he had some fumes in the truck. These trucks can get a lot of carbon monoxide inside, especially if you have a broken header pipe or something like that.
And not only that, that'll build a lot of heat in the truck too. I'm not quite sure, but he looks to be okay now.
And it doesn't look like there's damage to that truck, so it looks like he drove himself right down into the infield, wanted to get out as fast as possible. Out in front of this pack, it is Mike Skinner. Right behind him, Rick Crawford, Chad Chapman, Johnny Benson, Ron Hornaday rounding out our top 5. Jack Sprague, David Starr, Dennis Setzer, Robert Huffman, and Ricky Craven are your next 5, rounding out top 10.
Terry Cook has a good run going. He's 11th right now. Brennan Witt, 12th.
Terry Cook started 22nd, so he's made up quite a bit of ground early on in this race.
We talked about how good he had his last couple of races. This is the exact same truck that he ran at Lowe's Motor Speedway a few weeks ago and last week at Dover, Delaware. So if I was these guys, I would run this truck till the wheels fell off.
And they probably will. And when the nice thing about it is, when you're running up front, you keep the truck in good condition, so you can keep running it. It's when you get in the middle and you start knocking the sides off of it. So that Power Stroke diesel seems to be really strong tonight.
And here comes Mike Skinner leading the field down for our first pit stops. Wendy?
Our first truck to come to pit road on this end will be Rick Crawford and Chad Chapman. Chad Chapman comes to a stop. He has been a little loose, 4 tires and air pressure adjustment on the 30 truck. As for Rick Crawford in the 14, he's also been a little loose on entry, 4 tires, 1 pound in the left rear, and they're going to lower the right side track bar 1 turn. Ray?
Well, Wendy, no changes for Mike Skinner's Toyota Tundra. The guys go to work. Philip Morris does the front tires. Chad Rainey does the rears. Kevin Kerr is the jack man. Tim Clancy puts the gasoline in. Now, the crew chief, Jeff Hensley, said to Skinner, what do you want to do here? Do you want to make any changes? He said, no. 4 and gas. Let's go. Now, Sprague will be the first one off pit road. Not sure if they did 2 tires. Skinner will go off second.
And a truck going out third was the 9 of Shiggy. Shiggy getting Shiggy with it at Texas. And so we'll be back with more racing from Texas Motor Speedway after these messages.
You know, every race team in America uses a reciprocating saw like this to cut off damaged fenders, bars, sheet metal, things like that after they've been involved in an accident. But the problem with a straight reciprocating saw and the blade facing down is a lot of times you try to get into a certain angle and you just can't fit to the thing that you want to cut. Well, Craftsman has the solution. Check this out. This reciprocating saw actually turns, and you can lock this into 13 different positions. And what I really love is the front of the blade rotates 360 degrees. So you can turn the blade completely away from you, angle the saw like this. You can even turn the handle if you want to, and then you're ready to cut whatever needs cut. The thing that I love the most about this tool is the fact that it's only around $200. This gives you the versatility you need whether you're at the racetrack or at your home shop.
Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. Jack Sprague out in front of the field now after a very good pit stop. Wendy?
Todd Bodine is behind the wall. Broken rear end on Todd Bodine's truck. There has been a little bit of rumors floating around about the 66 of what's going on there. Their team was up for sale by their owner, Tom Eldridge, and hopefully Todd Bodine will be with us in Michigan with a new owner. We'll have to watch and see there. Also wanted to tell you the 9 truck, Ray reported he was the first truck off pit road, Shiggy Hattori. That was because he missed his pit box the first time pit road, and he had to go back around and pit the second time around.
Jack Sprague will lead the field to the green flag. Just behind him, Mike Skinner. The 38 of Brandon Witt moving up to third. Fourth is Rick Crawford, and fifth, Ted Musgrave. With more on our leader, Ray Dunlap.
Well, Rick, I said maybe they did 2 tires for the 16. I was wrong again. They did no tires. It was fuel only for Jack Sprague. Now, as I said, Skinner got 4 tires. We'll see what kind of action that makes on the track. But for Sprague and also for Brandon Witt and the number 38, those are 2 guys that took fuel only.
Well, we saw what 4 tires did against no tires as Mike Skinner just drove right by Jack Sprague.
But it may not necessarily be bad strategy because these trucks only had 4 sets of tires for the entire weekend. The majority of them used up 1 set completely in practice, so that only left them 3 to start the race on and finish the race on. We know Jack Sprague still has 2 sets in his pit area, where all the other teams that put tires on only have 1 set in their pit area.
Riding along with Jimmy Spencer, he's moved up to 7. So a good run for Jimmy Spencer in that Team ASE Dodge.
Right behind Jimmy Spencer, we got a great battle going on. Of course, we've been talking about Ron Hornaday's march to the front, or charge to the front, and it continues as well as he's just right behind Jimmy.
And it doesn't look like he's going to be behind for long, as Johnny Benson also wanting to move toward the front. He tries to make the pass on Rick Crawford. He'll take that position away, and so Johnny Benson moves to third, and now Ted Musgrave trying to take away fourth from Rick Crawford. He'll do it as well.
You know, Ted Musgrave and his crew were just desolate because they qualified so poorly. They qualified in the 26th position. They said they had Gene Need, crew chief, on a suicide watch because they were so bad, but they thought they had a very good handling truck. They just didn't know exactly why they didn't qualify any better than they did, but obviously they've got a great race package, and the truck's running up front.
Another truck that's been running very well as of late, the 88 of Matt Craftsman. That team really putting a big punctuation point on this, or an exclamation point on this team. They wanted that Thor Sport Racing to run very well, and look who's running very well. Bobby Hamilton in that 04 trying to get by the 17 of David Ruderman.
Bobby Hamilton, no stranger to starting in the back of the pack. He started 36th at Daytona this year and won the race on a last-second pass of Jimmy Spencer, so he's not unaccustomed to starting from the back of the field, and he's already moved up into almost to the top 15.
Robert Huffman in for a looks like unscheduled pit stop. You don't want to come in on green or under green conditions when everybody else has been able to come in under caution. Wendy, what happened with Robert Huffman?
Robert Huffman came down pit road. His left side tire was flat. They had to came in and they put 2 fresh tires on the left side.
Flat tire early on for Robert Huffman. Very disappointing. I'm sure that will not help his chances of having a better performance for his owner.
But with the free pass that we have nowadays, Robert Huffman only lost 1 lap, I think, in that pit stop. So if he can remain 1 lap down, then he'll be in good position because he's got a great truck. He was running in the top 15 before our first caution flag. If he can remain 1 lap down and get to the front of the 1 lap down trucks, then he'll have a good chance of getting his free pass.
One guy that's backing up now, as we just talked about him moving forward, Jimmy Spencer running really high on the track.
Not sure what's happening with him. And also Rick Crawford. We see a lot of trucks getting underneath him, getting position on him. And here we see it again.
8th and 9th, Rick Crawford trying to hold off Matt Crafton. Brandon Witt also backing up a little bit.
Remember, Brandon Witt is still on the same tires he started the race on, so he hasn't fallen out of the top 10 yet. And he's got 41 laps on his tires, so most of these other fellows only have probably 6 or 8 laps of green flag racing on their tires.
That's side-by-side racing, 8th and 9th. Crafton on the inside, Crawford on the outside. And it looks as though Crafton is going to make the pass. Now here comes Crawford on the outside again through the quad oval. Crawford takes the spot away, and now here comes Brandon Witt.
Brandon Witt has had a good truck a lot of times this year, but late in the race he's had some trouble. Mansfield, he had a great run going. Got in trouble late in the race. Lowe's Motor Speedway had a terrific run going. Got in trouble late in the race. So if he can ever put the whole race together, he's going to get a good, strong top 10 finish. Look at Bobby Hamilton on the outside of the racetrack.
And on the inside, that's Ricky Craven, currently 2nd and 3rd in points, running right there, nose to tail. Craven took away the 2nd spot from Bobby Hamilton this week. Very consistent runs for Ricky Craven has moved him up the points charts, but still no win for Ricky Craven in the Truck Series.
When we look at Brandon Witt, he went to move on 1 truck, and now he's falling back several trucks. It's no different than when you go to get off the corner. If you get a truck or a car on the inside of you that can even make you tighter, which makes you lift, and that's, I think he's lost all his momentum, and gradually he's moving back. But once he gets back down to the bottom, he'll be fine, I think.
Trouble for that 2 truck. They continue to go back. The Briggs & Stratton on board showing us how everyone's getting by him. Ray, what's going on with Jimmy Spencer?
Well, Rick, they're not exactly sure in the pits, but Spencer said this thing just went wicked loose all of a sudden. One time around the track it was okay. Next time he couldn't hold on to it. Just wicked loose. He said it's the worst off of turn 4, but he said the thing just almost like snapped, like you flipped a switch and it went to bad loose.
Sun about completely set at Texas Motor Speedway. Mike Skinner gave up the top spot under caution to Jack Sprague, but it didn't take long for Mike Skinner to get back in front. The pageantry continues to impress the fans here in Texas. Welcome back to the Chex 400K presented on Speed Channel by Briggs & Stratton. Mike Skinner still out in front of the pack and putting some distance between himself and 2nd place Johnny Benson. One guy who has backed up after starting 2nd. He's all the way back to 21st position. Wendy, what's going on with Rick?
They're still not sure in the 14th pit what's wrong with Rick Crawford. Rick Crawford thinks it's engine trouble. So you do have Junior Paxton ready, on standby, ready to go over the wall in case the 14 truck does have to come down pit lane and they have to work on that engine.
We saw Rick Crawford wiggling his truck going down the backstretch, so to me, it means he may think he has a flat tire or a soft tire. He's trying to figure out which one it is.
We see Brendan Gaughan making his way around the 18. Chase Montgomery on the inside. Brendan Gaughan talked about going on the outside and passing everyone. Well, he's got his work cut out for him if he wants to win his 5th Texas race. He won 4 in a row here from 2002 to 2003. A dominant performance by him, but he's got a lot of work to reach that status again tonight.
It looked like he had made a march forward, and then all of a sudden the yellow came out. He had a pit stop, and for some reason fell back to the back of the starting lineup, and then hasn't been able to make his way back and march back to the front.
John, they've really struggled all year. This was a new team. Obviously, they had the 62 Orleans Dodge that Steve Park drove all last year. Well, they started the 2nd team for Brennan, and they really just haven't had the success that everyone thought they would have. They end up missing a couple races, which was very, very unusual. They had a good, strong top 10 run with Lowe's Motor Speedway, I think, and then they had a top 10 run going till they got crashed at Dover last week. But this team has not performed up to their expectations, but they've worked on it. They've changed crew chiefs. Tony Liberati, Rambo is now the crew chief. They've had a good couple runs, but right now they look to be a little bit off their pace here.
Sometimes that happens, you know, when you're trying to build a team, trying to build that magic back, and obviously they had the magic, and now they're going to try to get that back. So I'll tell you again, I want to mention Terry Cook just continues to move forward. Here he's in the 5th spot with that Power Stroke diesel. Again, we mentioned that truck has run 2nd and 3rd the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, there he is right there going in turn number 3, looks like. Got a great run going. Started way back in what, the 22nd position, already made his way up into the top 5.
I thought he actually was going to run over David Starr down the front straightaway here at one point because he just got such a strong run on him. So he's moving forward.
We talked about Brendan Gaughan giving up the 62 seat. The 62 was the dominant truck in Texas. Now Steve Parkin, that one, got his first truck victory in California earlier this year. Joined an elite group of drivers that have won in all 3 series. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the Busch Series, and the Cup Series.
You see the top Dodge runners right now. Ted Musgrave leads that group in 7th. The top Ford runners, Terry Cook leads that fivesome in 5th position.
Hey, Ray, what's going on?
You know, Rick, I was just listening to a lot of drivers on the radio down here, and I'm kind of confused as well as most of them are. The same thing kind of happened at Charlotte at Lowe's Motor Speedway that's happening tonight. I'm hearing a lot of drivers saying we made an adjustment on that first stop, and it did exactly the opposite of what we expected it to do. I'm not sure if it's the kind of package they have set up for 1.5 mile tracks or what's going on, but you were referencing Brendan Gaughan. He's one of the guys that's been on the radio. We saw how bad Jimmy Spencer got after their pit stop. A number of these guys on the radio tonight saying we made an adjustment and it didn't do anything like we had expected.
These trucks, John, run such different packages. Now you see a great side-by-side battle between Dennis Setzer, the 46 truck on the outside, Ricky Craven, the 99 truck on the inside. But they try to run as soft as they can in front. And I heard some guys running 1,400-pound springs in the rear. So when you have that softest springs in the front, maybe an 800-pound spring in the right front and a 1,300-pound spring in the right rear, sometimes the adjustments you make don't do exactly what they've always done in the past.
Exactly, and sometimes an adjustment, if you make it at the rear with a 1,300-pound rear spring, it only takes a small adjustment to make a big adjustment, because most of the time you put a round in, get a 400-pound spring in. Now you've got an 800 in the left rear and a 1,200 in the right rear. They're much more sensitive to changes, and they're much more sensitive to track conditions too.
And so changes that have taken place have worked for some and not for others. Chad Chaffin on the inside of Matt Crafton. Great side-by-side racing. That Menards 88 running the higher line, able to hold his momentum as he goes through the turns and down the back stretch. And they continue to be side-by-side. It looks like Crafton will edge in front of Chad Chaffin. Now we'll see if he goes to the inside. He will, and secure that spot.
Matt Crafton does well here. He's got 3 top 10 finishes in his 8 starts here at Texas.
Jimmy Kite going another lap down as Mike Skinner dominating at Texas. We talk about big things in Texas. Mike running very big here. Tomorrow live on Speed Channel, it's Formula One Canadian Grand Prix qualifying. You don't want to miss any of the action. In the first 7 races of the F1 season, the pole winner has won 5 times. Tune into Speed Channel tomorrow at 1 p.m. live for all your Formula One qualifying.
Let's see if we can ride with Terry Cook right here. Listen to his throttle. Just out of the throttle. Probably not even completely out of the throttle, John. Just for about 3 or 4 seconds. Probably going to about half throttle.
And that's what we're looking at with all those leaders. We look at their lap times, and we see them all running pretty consistently the same, 30-80s, 30-90s without traffic. And so you just heard it again there. If I wouldn't have been talking, you would have heard it. It's just a very, very little amount that he's coming out and getting right back into it.
So there's Terry Cook. He's already moved up into the 4th position. He passed Jack Sprague a few laps ago. Here's Mike Skinner, our leader. We talked about him having trouble at Lowe's Motor Speedway a couple races ago. Well, see the 29 Brad Keselowski, the 50 of Todd Cleaver. Those were the two trucks that were racing at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Mike Skinner was going in to pass him, made contact with Brad Keselowski, ruined his day, took him right out of the lead. Another close situation for him right here, but unfortunately he backed off. He didn't make it 3 wide, and he was able to get by those 2 lap trucks and still has about a 4-second lead on Johnny Benson.
Johnny Benson now working through the lap traffic just as Mike Skinner is. Skinner able to get through them a little bit quicker. Brad Keselowski on the inside of Brendan Gaughan. Gaughan not quite as dominant tonight in Texas.
Well, he's already gotten lapped. All this group of trucks right here, other than Ron Hornaday, have all been lapped. The 29 of Brad Keselowski, Brendan in the 77, Todd Cleaver, Jimmy Kite the 06, Shiggy Hattori in the 9. All 1 lap down to the torrid pace Mike Skinner setting.
And now they're going to race extremely hard because they want to be in that lucky dog position in case a caution does happen to fall. So it's going to be harder for the trucks just behind them because there's another race going on just in front of them.
One driver who struggled early on in this race, the 2 of Jimmy Spencer, he had to come to pit road, had a flat tire, had to change that. So under green conditions, Jimmy Spencer also going a couple laps down now.
Yeah, we'll see Jimmy now because he's got new tires. He ought to be making a lot of time up on the leaders and otherwise, but you just never know. If he's had a problem and it didn't get fixed by tires, he's in trouble.
It looked like he got a little bit loose coming off that corner there. He was bypassing another truck. We heard him get out of the throttle a little bit, so he had a little bit of an anxious moment right there.
Riding along with Jimmy Spencer with that Briggs & Stratton on board. Mike Skinner out in front of this one. He's ahead of Johnny Benson by almost 3.5 seconds. Ray?
Well, Rick, what do you say we do a little top 10 drop back? You see Skinner there in his Toyota Tundra, and you also see Bill Davis. Now, Bill Davis can sit down here and look at the big screen, and believe me, he had some anxious moments when Skinner was in that traffic earlier. Skinner is driving a truck called number 59. It's a brand new chassis for these guys, and Skinner is the leader. Bill Davis, a very happy man, because his first 2 trucks are Skinner and then Johnny Benson. Johnny Benson in that 23 has been very, very good on these 1.5-mile tracks. And he told me tonight before this thing got, he said, if we get just a little bit of tightness in this racetrack, I think I'm going to be extremely good. The 2 top trucks, Bill Davis Racing. Wendy?
We reported last week in Dover about crew chief Wally Rogers and his wife Renee and the birth of their twin daughters, Callie and Emma. Well, unfortunately, in between those 2 births, crew chief Wally Rogers got a phone call. After the birth of his first daughter, Callie, the phone rang, and his grandmother, 82-year-old Muriel Sigler, had passed away in New Jersey. After that, moments later, his second daughter was born, Emma. So a little bit in a high and low moment for Wally, but he's back in his game tonight, and there is a crash on the track.
Number 9 of Shiggy Hattori getting spun around, slams into the inside wall. And so our second caution of the night comes out as we are nearing the halfway point.
What I saw, it looked like it was a 1-truck accident, but we'll have to wait and see the replay.
We'll ride along with the Power Stroke Diesel by International number 10 of Terry Cook and take a look at what took place with Shiggy Hattori.
See, Terry's right behind him. Shiggy looks like is he going to get a little bit loose? He got just a little bit loose. Terry Cook wasn't that close to him, and around he went.
Pit stops are happening here at Texas as Ron Hornaday comes to a stop. Jason Meeks on the front, Jason Tate jacking, and Kyle Kretschmann is the rear tire changer. No adjustments on the 6 truck, but he did request a little bit of water cool down himself. Ray?
Mike Skinner's just a little bit worried about his right front tire. He said he's been driving into the corner plenty hard. He said, boy, is there any way we could go without tires? And Jeff Hensley said, absolutely not. We can't give that up to the field. Skinner will get his 4 and get away. He'll be the first one off pit road. Good stop for the guys in Skinner's number 5 Tundra.
Great stop for Dennis Setzer. Eric Phillips' crew got him out in the 2nd position.
Dennis Setzer, he knows how to win at Texas Motor Speedway. One of 4 drivers in the field that have won on this racetrack. We are under caution number 2, and that is because Shiggy Hattori had problems coming out of turn number 2. Let's take a look.
Again, we're riding with Terry Cook here, and we'll see. This is not a tight truck. This is a loose truck. And you'll see Shiggy, he just lost the back end of the truck, and as you said before we went to break, Phil, it wasn't, Terry Cook wasn't even close to him, so I can't say the air came off him. I just think that Shiggy just lost rear end grip there. And
some great maneuvering by a lot of these fellas to get through. You see Todd Cliff. There's David Starr, the Spears 75, getting by. Shiggy's going to make some contact with the inside wall. Stayed out of the outside wall, but made some contact with the inside wall.
And you got to remember that there's a lot of guys in there that were lead lap trucks that missed that accident.
There are 20 on the lead lap in Texas. We'll be back with more. Coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Speed Channel is brought to you in part by Ford, the official truck of NASCAR. By TGI Fridays, irresistible new sizzling platters. Everyone can use more Fridays. By new Mobile One Extended Performance, official motor oil of NASCAR. And by Mitchum, with all the way.
Getting ready for the restart. Mike Skinner spins the tires, spins sideways. That's the lap truck of Rick Crawford on the inside. The 46 of Dennis Setzer, the 30, Chad Chapman, who's third. We're being told fuel only for those two trucks.
And the amazing thing is this is the way the race actually started. Rick Crawford on the inside of Mike Skinner. He qualified second. Look at, we've got Chad Chapman backing up right now.
Well, John, we just heard that he got fuel only. It makes you wonder if he really got some debris on his tires, didn't get them cleaned off. A lot of times when you're racing, the tires are so hot, then you come down pit road. Look at Bobby Hamilton go way to the outside. A lot of times you don't get your tires cleaned off there because so they're so hot, they pick up all that rubber and debris on the racetrack.
Exactly right. When you get just on the restart and you get down there, you got everybody around you and you're trying to go, and the truck just starts sliding. And there's nothing you can do about it other than back up, regroup, and then go at it again like he's doing.
What's the problems with them, Wendy?
The 30 truck took a little bit of a chance by taking fuel only, and they think they have a flat tire now. Right rear tire might be flat. They're going to wait and see. And if it is, I'm sure he'll be down pit road pretty quickly.
Well, I think they really need to run a few laps, or at least a lap or so, to see if it was what you're talking about, Phil, because I think you're right, and he may be feeling that, and it may come right back to him.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he may very well have a slow leak or something in the right rear, but if you have a lot of debris on your tires, that's what it's going to feel like. You have at least one flat tire, if not all of them flat, right, John?
Oh, yeah, especially as fast as you're going.
And it looks as though he's back into the groove as he was able to hustle it around turns 1 and 2, down the back stretch and now through 3 and 4.
Yeah, it looks like he's back up to speed right now, so I think it was just a situation that we talked about. He had debris on his tires. It's very, very difficult to get them cleaned off like that when they pick up so much debris, but looks like he's back up to speed now.
Well, and then you lose your confidence, too, to get back up to speed. Well, we've got a battle going on here.
Great battle right here. Dennis Setzer, Jack Sprague, battle for 6th and 7th. Sprague on the inside. We're riding along with Dennis Setzer. Setzer on the outside, not able to hold Jack Sprague off on the inside as they work their way through the quad oval.
I think we're going to expect Dennis Setzer to back up a little bit. From what we understand, he only got fuel only, so he's out there on older tires as well.
Because most of these teams have been on pit road twice, so they've actually used their allotted tires. They've only had 3 sets of tires for the most part to start this race, in addition to their practice tires, which they put a number of laps on. So Dennis Setzer, we know, has one more set of tires in his pits, as does Chad Chapman, that could really come into play later on. So good strategy. It may work out for him.
There's still a lot of laps left, and I think you're right, Phil. I think that's probably going to be the trick that might bite some of the guys that are up front.
John, we haven't talked much about the 15 truck. That's Johnny Sauter. They changed engines in that truck after qualifying. He went to Nashville to practice his Busch car. While he was gone, they changed engines because that car did not qualify nearly as good as they thought it should have. That's the truck that won the last 2 times out with Kyle Busch. This is a brand new truck, those same team. They weren't sure exactly what was going on, so they changed engines. Right now, he's already back in the top 10.
And it makes me feel good. You see Chex as a sponsor on there. Of course, it's a Chex 400. And I was talking to the General Mills people earlier, and as I said, make the Chex or make the mix that makes the race. So they're a great company, and it's good to see them running up front there with Johnny Sauter.
A lot of dicing and changing positions there. Timothy Peters on the inside of the 8 of Deborah Renshaw. Battle for second place. Ron Hornaday and Johnny Benson. Hornaday on the inside, and then Johnny Benson dices back in front of him, and so Benson taking away second from Ron Hornaday.
Right of your screen, Terry Cook, the Power Stroke Diesel Ford. He's in the 4th position.
Well, I think I think Mike Skinner thinks he owns first place, and Johnny Benson says I own second. So I'm taking that back away from you. But you've got these two guys behind you with Ron Hornaday and Terry Cook that have just been coming all the way to the front.
Mike Skinner trying to check out on Johnny Benson, Ron Hornaday, Terry Cook, and David Starr. Under the moon at Texas Motor Speedway, trouble. Crazy things have happened as Shigeatori gets spun around coming out of turn 2. That was earlier. Now the smoke's rising for Mike Skinner. Welcome back to the Chex 400K presented on Speed Channel by Briggs & Stratton. You see the side of the number 4 of Timothy Peters. He got into the wall coming out of turn number 4.
He's right in front of Ted Musgrave. He's on the outside of the 65. Got a little bit loose. He just made a little bit of contact to the outside wall. That's the 22 truck of Bill Luster right in front of him. Let's see if he's going to make any more contact. Watch his truck wiggle. Look how loose he is. Boy, he had his hands full.
It might just have been a matter of where he knocked the rear end over or something as well. It didn't look like all the tires were up. But the one thing I really like about Texas Motor Speedway, we're going to see the caution lights here. Especially at night racing, you can see the other lights outside the racetrack sometimes, and they can get confusing. Caution lights up against the fence not always tell you, aren't the first thing you see, but these lights here, you can see those when you're racing. I think that's kudos to them.
We're just over halfway from Texas Motor Speedway. Mike Skinner, the dominant one tonight. Jack Sprague's also led some laps. Eric Norris put his name on lap leader as well. Let's take a closer look at the Premier Division of NASCAR in our Nextel Cup update. Point standings, Jimmy Johnson still holding on to a comfortable lead over Greg Biffle.
4 wins for Greg Biffle this year. What a terrific season he's having.
Top 10 locked into the chase for the championship, as well as those within 400 points of the leader. And our leader, coming to the green flag, Mike Skinner will take the green flag. He's done that 4 times tonight.
He's got the restart master, Ron Hornaday, right behind him. He was all over him going in turn number 1.
Skinner has been able to put distance between himself and who's ever been running second. We'll see if he's able to separate himself from Ron Hornaday.
Good battle for third. Johnny Benson, the 23 Toyota on the inside. Terry Cook on the outside. That's Terry Cook's Power Stroke diesel onboard we're watching. He moves out in front of Johnny Benson to take over third.
Through the quad oval, it's Skinner and Hornaday separating themselves from Cook and Benson. Problems in the front stretch. Bouncing off the wall, Chase Montgomery hitting the inside wall hard. Bringing out our 4th caution of the night.
He actually went all the way down, hit the inside wall, and then came back across in front of some trucks, hit the outside wall, and then stopped on the track.
John, we can see him moving around in his truck, so that's a good sign. You see his window net's down. That's his sign to the rescue workers that he's okay.
But you'll see the wall that he actually hit on the inside is not one of the softer walls. And that's one of the things where the evolution of the tracks as we go along, we saw it last week at Dover, where they're going to start putting the softer walls on those inside walls just to cushion those kind of blows that come out of nowhere. I don't know what happened. We can see the marks.
We'll take a look at it after we take a short break. We saw Chase Montgomery jumping out of the number 18, and so we hope everything's okay with him. We'll be back with more from Fort Worth, Texas. Welcome back to Fort Worth, Texas. The red flag has actually come out. Chase Montgomery's number 18 blocking the turn 1 area, and so they've stopped all the trucks right in front of the flag stand. Chase Montgomery is out of the truck. He is walking under his own power. He was able to wave to the fans as the safety crew were helping him into the ambulance. He'll go into the infield care center and be checked out.
Had a 3-wide situation there. Bobby Hamilton, 0-4, the 12 of Robert Huffman, and the 18. Unfortunately, Chase takes the worst of it. He's going to make some pretty hard contact with the inside wall right there, which propels him back across the racetrack. See if you can get another look at it. Watch how hard he's going to hit the inside wall here, driver's side. And as you mentioned, John, no softer wall there. That was a hard wall.
Well, and the other thing, too, is when you hit on the left side, so much of our seats are set up because of the G-loading and always turning left to hold you in the right side. But when you hit on that left side, that's a tough blow. You kind of see him holding his left side as he went to the ambulance, and probably knocked the wind out of him.
Take a look at it full speed.
Bobby was going on the inside, made it 3 wide. They came together. Chase gets just turned straight towards the inside wall.
I can tell you, that's a lonely feeling when you're heading to the wall like that.
Feels like it takes about 5 minutes for you to get there, but you know it's going to hurt every one of those seconds it takes you to get there.
We saw a hard hit here a year ago. David Rudeman, Bill Lester, involved in an accident coming out of turn number 4. They actually hit the safer barriers.
Similar situation with David Rudeman. He ended up coming down, making contact with the inside wall, not at the rate of speed that we saw Chase Montgomery hit it, obviously, but had no control over his truck, more than likely knocked out when he hit the inside wall.
You mentioned the restart master. Ron Hornaday will start second right behind Mike Skinner. Wendy's caught up with his crew chief.
Wally Rogers enjoyed a weekend off because of the birth of your children, Wally. You said you were actually getting some sleep this weekend here in Texas.
Yeah, you know, my wife Renee gave birth to our 2 beautiful children, Callie and Emma, and man, I couldn't wait to get to the track just to get some sleep. My wife's been working real hard back at the house just to try and keep up with the kids, and you know, I'm here in Texas. The GM Goodwrench Silverado is really good right now, and we're just going to keep rolling on.
Now, can we see you come in, take tires? What do you have left for tires? Is it going to be fuel only? What's your strategy?
I really don't know. It's really going to depend on how many laps are left. You know, obviously, if it's a full fuel run, we'll try and maybe put 4 on. Maybe we'll get 2. Who knows? Maybe we'll get gas.
Who knows? Maybe you'll be in victory lane tonight. And tell your wife, Renee, you'll be home soon, so she'll have some relief when you get back from Texas.
Wally Rogers not really showing his hand there.
No. Maybe we're not sure about the weather.
Ray, what's happening?
Well, just hanging out down here pit side, and Bill Davis taking a look at the action. Now, I saw you a little bit ago. You're sitting here looking up at the big screen. You saw Skinner in that action. What all do you do as an owner when you're sitting here? I mean, you got guys running 1st and 4th. Really good effort tonight from your entire team.
Well, most is just here to hope that everything goes like it's supposed to. We don't have any problems. You know, the 5 Tundra has run really, really well all year, and has been in position to win some races. And, you know, hadn't closed the deal yet, so maybe this will be the night. But proud of the 23. They're sure running great too.
So what do you do as an owner here? Do you give advice, or are you just overseeing?
No, I'm just here to watch like all the rest of the fans.
Okay, well, good. Bill Davis being a fan tonight, pretty good spot to be in, with Skinner out front and Johnny Benson running 4th.
We have some radio communication with Terry Cook. Let's see if we can talk to him. I think maybe the trucks have been refired. Let's see if we can get Terry on the radio. Terry Cook, Phil Parsons, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Phil. Got a copy.
Terry, you had 2 great races in a row with this very same truck. You've got another good one here. Mike Skinner has been so strong this entire race. You have anything for him?
Yeah, Phil, I think we do. The Power Stroke Diesel by International Ford's been pretty stout. Took a little while to get back to the pack. I think the last pit stop, we made the adjustments, take us to the end. We were out of tires like everybody else. We got to stop one more time for fuel, but I think we can get the job done.
Your crew chief, Rick, said you're going to run this thing till the wheels come off. I guess you want to just take this thing home and put it in your garage till the next race, huh?
Yeah, just for, I guarantee you one thing. We come out of here with a decent day, and it's going to Michigan Speedway, and just looking for a great day with the Power Stroke Diesel by International Ford. You know, it's big. Everything's big here in Texas.
All right, Terry, thanks, and good luck.
Thank you, Phil.
That'll be Terry Cook's 200 starts in Michigan in just a week. Our onboards are fed through a helicopter that goes above the track, and right now he's saying that there's a possibility of rain in the area, maybe 75 miles away. We hope to get it in before that moisture comes down. Welcome back to the Chex 400K, presented on Speed Channel by Briggs & Stratton in Fort Worth, Texas. Big things happen in Texas, and we've had some big problems early on.
Early on, Shiggy Hattori loses control, spins out, makes some contact with the inside wall.
And we have Timothy Peters, who's got it. He touched the wall once coming off of 2. Now he got further up into it. Had to sit on that.
Our most recent caution flag, a 3-wide situation. Bobby Hamilton on the inside makes it 3 wide, squeezes the 12 of Robert Huffman into Chase Montgomery, the 18. He makes hard contact with the inside wall and propels him back out into the outside wall.
So Bobby Hamilton also getting involved in that incident on the front stretch. NASCAR Nation in the studio or on location. It's more than just news. It's an all-access pass to the hottest sport in the country. It airs Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. only on Speed Channel. Declare your citizenship to the nation. Ray Dunlap.
Well, Rick, we're just a little bit away from the window to be able to make this thing. Lots of guys down here on the pits saying, can't we come in and get fuel now and make it to the end? Well, no, the answer is 103 is the magic number that everybody's looking for here. If we could get to 103, these guys would have come down, jumped in. Some of them would have gone for gas, no doubt about it. But we're not quite there, so definitely one more pit stop coming our way tonight as we get ready to go back green.
We have had a number of trucks that did pit on this caution flag. Dennis Stetzer was in just a lap ago. The 30 of Chad Chaffin was in. Brendan Gaughan was in. Ricky Craven. Bobby Hamilton, some of the lead lap trucks that made pit stops on this most recent caution flag.
Bobby Hamilton had to come in just to check the damage because he was involved in this most recent accident that took place on the front stretch. Mike Skinner wants to continue his domination. He's been out in front of 92 of the laps tonight. And on lap 98, we have a restart with the 6 of Ron Hornaday, Terry Cook, Johnny Benson, and David Starr rounding out the top 5.
Well, Terry Cook told us a few moments ago that he thought he had something for Mike Skinner. He's in the 3rd position. He can see the lead from where he is.
Side-by-side racing. Jimmy Spencer, he's a lap truck on board with the Briggs & Stratton onboard camera.
See, Mike Skinner would love to get by Jimmy Spencer, dispatch him, get back out front, get to some clean air. He doesn't want to do this side-by-side racing.
Terry Cook trying to make his way by Ron Hornaday and take away 2nd from Hornaday. And now Terry Cook moving up, trying to give chase to Mike Skinner. Wendy, what's going on with Terry?
Terry Cook at the beginning of the weekend said, you know, they've never excelled on these mile-and-a-half tracks until this year. With their engine combination, their aero package, and the good chassis setups they've had this year, they've been pretty well on these mile-and-a-half tracks. We ran Atlanta, he had a top 10. We ran Charlotte, he finished 2nd. So Terry Cook's program on these mile-and-a-half tracks has really stepped up in 2005.
Wendy, you're exactly right. Terry Cook going into Charlotte was 0 for 40 in his Craftsman Truck Series career on mile-and-a-half racetracks and had a great runner-up finish. It looks like he's going to be 2 for 42 if he continues running the way he has.
The other good thing about this for 2 manufacturers, being Toyota and Ford, is in the 2005 season, neither of them have won a race. And right now, we've got Toyota and Ford 1st and 2nd. Look how long it's been since a few of these drivers have found victory lane. Terry Cook, 67 starts. Mike Skinner, only 46, but his last win came in 1996.
Well, there's a couple of those guys in awfully good position right now to break that string. Mike Skinner's been the dominant truck this entire race, and Terry Cook is in the 2nd position. We could have a string broken tonight.
Well, yeah, those first 2 guys are running 1-2.
Yeah.
Hopefully somebody breaks that string. Nobody likes to have that kind of string hanging on.
No, and I'm sure that if Mike Skinner does win, he will be very relieved that Ray will stop counting how many days it's been since his last victory. Because if we need to, we could ask Ray at any time, and he would tell us how many days it has been since Mike Skinner won.
Well,
Ray?
The number, Rick, is 3,159 days.
There you have it. Thanks, Ray. And I'm sure that's exactly what Mike Skinner's going to say. Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, I think Ray needs to do something else on his spare time.
But that's a little bit deceiving because he didn't run the Truck Series for a number of years, so it's not like he raced 20, 25 races every year for the last 8 or 10 years. He hasn't run that many races. We saw that graphic show how many races it's been since he's won.
Johnny Sauter just in front of Ted Musgrave.
Johnny Sauter giving that Billy Ballou number 15 Chex Chevrolet a good ride. This is a brand new truck, Richie Waters. They've got so many good things going on with that organization. Kyle Busch now won the last 2 races with this truck. Looks like he's going to run next week at Michigan. You see Ted Musgrave. That's what we talked about, John, early in the show. Ted Musgrave got behind him. Johnny had to move up the racetrack a little bit. That allowed Ted Musgrave to get beside him. That may be a product of that smaller rear spoiler we were talking about.
You touched on that in the open at the beginning of the show about the possibility of getting behind someone taking the air off that spoiler and be able to get by him. We just heard from NASCAR that Chase Montgomery is being transported to an area hospital for further evaluation. We saw him hit the inside wall fairly hard, was holding his left side earlier.
But we've seen the last couple of weeks, this has been the truck to beat. And now, obviously, they've come from the back. They had to start last for a couple of reasons. One, they had to do an engine change. Two, Johnny missed the driver's meeting. So they've come a long way, and there's still enough time to get all the way up to the front. So we still may see this 15 back in victory lane again for the third week in a row.
And remember, John, he was in Nashville, Tennessee today practicing for the Busch race tomorrow night in Nashville.
Yeah, 2 cars, actually. I think he actually drove the 32 a little bit because Ron Hornaday is going to be racing that car tomorrow. And so Johnny Sauter, I think, did a favor and went ahead and sat in that car for a few laps, too.
I talked to Johnny Sauter when we first got here. Johnny said, you know, I've raced trucks before, but I've never raced on a 1.5-mile track in a truck. So this is a learning experience for him. Somebody who knows quite a bit about truck racing but hasn't found victory lane yet is Matt Crafton in that Menards 88. Now, ThorSport's spending the money this year to do a lot of testing for that team, and it's proving that they are doing very well. Wendy?
You're talking about the team spending money, and they sure did it with this truck tonight. It's a brand new chassis for the 88 team, and they would love nothing more than a good finish. Matt Crafton celebrates his 29th birthday tomorrow, so happy birthday to Matt Crafton. Now, the 8 times Matt Crafton's run here at Texas, he's finished in the top 10 3 times, so Matt Crafton might be looking for another top 10 to add to that stat list.
Crafton hunting for that first victory. A lot of people questioned if Matt Crafton was going to be able to run as strong as he did a year ago, being with Kevin Harvick Incorporated a year ago. Had some great top 5 finishes, and now has proven that Matt Crafton is a good driver by taking the 88 up to the front and running very well. Another driver running very well, the 65 of Clay Rogers.
We've got Clay Rogers did such a good job at Charlotte. His first ever Craftsman Truck Series race. Had a good, strong top 15 finish. Regan Smith is the normal driver for the 65 Glenn Motorsports truck, and he's running the Busch race in Nashville. That's why he's not here. They tapped Clay Rogers, and he's doing a terrific job. Ray?
Well, guys, I think what's really impressive about this is that this is just his second start in this series. Now, Clay Rogers has a busy weekend. He'll be racing here tonight, and then he's got to head out as quickly as possible to go for Mansfield, Ohio. He'll be racing in the Hooters Pro Cup Series on Saturday night. I asked him, what do we know about your future here in trucks? He said, I'm definitely going to be running some more. We don't have the schedule all worked out exactly yet because I am competing in the Hooters Cup Series, trying to race for the championship, which he already has one of those there. But just his second start in trucks, and a great effort tonight as he's moved up to 9.
Mike Skinner, Ron Hornaday, Terry Cook, 1, 2, 3. You see the distance between first and second. Mike Skinner just got into some pretty rough traffic.
Yeah, Ron Hornaday was able to get by Terry Cook for the second position. We saw a little while ago Terry Cook passing Ron Hornaday. Let's see what Mike Skinner had to face right here. There's his 30 truck of Chad Cheffin right in front of him. That's Robert Huff on the Toyota on the inside. Very similar situation to what we saw at Lowe's Motor Speedway, but Mike Skinner stayed on the bottom of the racetrack as we see Ron Hornaday take advantage of Terry Cook slowing down for the lap trucks and taking over the second position.
A lot of times you like to be in second place, especially when you're going through traffic. Let the first guy kind of get the right position, let him do what he needs to do, and then they know that somebody else is coming. A lot of times they're going to race the leader a lot harder than they're going to race second place.
And John, you mentioned the similarities between this track and Atlanta. Now, first and second have both been involved in some of the greatest finishes at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Mike Skinner slid sideways across the start-finish line second to Bobby Hamilton a year ago. This year, Ron Hornaday just edged in front of Bobby Labonte by 8/1000ths of a second to get his first win of 2005. And so we could see a great finish between those two who had a great finish at Atlanta earlier.
I think there's no doubt we're going to see a great finish between them because they're up there. They both know how to race these kind of tracks. They obviously both have great trucks. It's going to make for a good finish, I think.
Wendy, what's going on with Ron?
Ron Hornaday is just typical veteran style on the racetrack. He's running second. He's had all kinds of problems tonight. His radio first wouldn't work at the beginning of the race, so that first pit stop they had to come in and change radios. Now his gear shifter ball has fallen off, and all all kinds of problems going on with Ron's truck, but it's not affecting the performance of Ron Hornaday here tonight. Ray, what can you add on the 6th truck?
Well, Wendy, we know that next week at Michigan, Kevin Harvick will be back racing with us, and they have a brand new chassis that he'll be taking there. Harvick, of course, also a threat anytime he comes truck racing. But all of my sources in the Nextel Cup Garage are telling me right now that Kevin Harvick is actually the leading candidate to replace Rusty Wallace at Penske Racing. There's a lot of negotiating going on right now, and that could have huge implications here in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Why? Well, of course, Hornaday's in a Chevrolet, and this Good Wrench program has been great this year. Hornaday already going to victory lane. But what would Chevrolet think if Kevin Harvick actually moved to a position to drive a Dodge? Could that possibly happen? Who knows? There's an awful lot going on there, but it's going to have far-reaching implications if there's any truth to those rumors.
Mike Skinner's lead has diminished. Ron Hornaday reels him in. 0.2 of a second separate 1 and 2. But don't count out the Ford of Terry Cook. He's right there in the battle as well. Tomorrow on Speed Channel, it's ARCA Stock Car Racing from Pocono. Hotshot young guns go door-to-door with ARCA's top veterans. ARCA Stock Car Racing live from Pocono Raceway tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific, only on Speed Channel. Positions changing. Ron Hornaday, the new leader in Texas. Let's take a look.
Ron Hornaday's been getting closer and closer and closer. You see Mike Skinner drives up, takes a wide arc into the corner. Ron Hornaday just gets on the throttle in the center of the corner and able to drive right up beside him.
Wendy, what's Ron feeling like now out in front?
A lot of times during the race, it's monkey see, monkey do. Well, I was on the pit box talking to Wally Rogers when that pass took place, and he turned to me and he said, now we can race my style. When I want to pit, the 5 will pit. So if it is green flag laps when they come into pit, the 5 may have to follow the 6.
Wendy, what kind of tire situation is Ron Hornaday in? Does he have any tires left?
There are 2 sets of tires here. One set has 25 laps on them, and the other set, the 25 lappers were from practice earlier in the week, and the other set were from the beginning of the race, and they have 31 lap tires sitting here. So they have a choice here in the 6th pit, right?
Well, down here for Mike Skinner, Wendy, at the front of the grid, he has 2 lap scuffs sitting in here that they used in practice for their bonsai run, and he'll put those on right around lap 135. Now, Skinner said that his truck is definitely tightening up here on the late part of this run, so they're going to make a little adjustment for him to try to loosen him up a little bit, maybe even raise the track bar around or so. But 2 lap scuffs for Skinner, and I expect to see them pit road about 12 laps from now.
Remember, Mike Skinner told us at the very beginning of the show, if the racetrack got really, really tight, he thought he was going to be in trouble. Obviously, his truck's tightening up right now. He needs another adjustment. All these teams are going to have to make another pit stop. Nobody can make it on fuel till the very end, till lap 167. Everyone will have to make a pit stop. That's when Jeff Hensley, Mike Skinner's crew chief, can make the adjustments it takes for him to win this race.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I'm Ron Hornaday, I want to go green the rest of the way because I don't want to give Mike Skinner too much of a chance on a restart if I've got 25 lap tires as my best tires and he's got 2 lap tires.
Ron Hornaday pulling away from Mike Skinner. Skinner was the dominant truck all race. Now almost a second separates first and second. And you see Terry Cook just over 2.5 seconds behind.
Jack Sprague moved up into the 4th position. Matt Craftsman into the top 5 in the 88 truck, the Menard Chevrolet, in 5th position.
Craftsman coming on in that Menard Chevrolet. Johnny Benson holding on to the 6th spot, just out of the top 5. Ray, what's going on with JB?
Well, Rick, he's actually lost a couple spots, as you just documented. Crafton getting by him there. Johnny's in the same situation as his teammate Skinner, getting very tight coming off turn 4. Now, Johnny Benson actually has a set of sticker tires sitting in his pit stall. I'm not sure if there's much difference there. Of course, guys, you can add, will there be any advantage to him having stickers over these other guys with scuffs?
I think he might have a slight advantage, John, for a few laps if he has stickers, over 2 lap scuffs. But I think after a number of laps, they would equal out. But it all depends on when they're going to be able to get these tires on the truck and how much time they're going to have with them.
Yeah, if they have to get the tires under green, it's certainly not as big an advantage as if you can get them under caution. Get right back up to the leaders and then take advantage of those.
And if we don't get another caution, that really throws the pressure on the crews to come in and have perfect pit stops, because you can win and lose races by stopping and having problems.
Remember what happened last week at Dover. Ron Hornaday had the dominant truck at Dover last week, came in for his final pit stop, left the lug nut off, ended up going from a dominant truck to well back into the field, ended up with the top 5, finishing 4th, but he had almost a sure victory taken away by a mistake on pit road.
And we haven't had a green flag stop tonight either yet, so when the pressure builds, it builds right at the end. There's no time to make up for a mistake late.
John, I don't think we've had a green flag pit stop this year. We've set records at a lot of racetracks for caution flags. We had 11 at Charlotte, as you mentioned a few moments ago. That was a record by 3 at Charlotte. We had how many at Mansfield? 13 at Mansfield earlier this year?
Well, we've had a clean race tonight, and based on what you're talking about from earlier races.
And as we documented earlier, great racing. The smaller spoiler possibly allowing more passing. And also great side-by-side racing, as you had mentioned, very, very close to Atlanta as far as the way the racing went there. Very competitive. Biggest movers, Bobby Hamilton, moved up 13 spots.
Remember Johnny Sauter, there's falling back Bill Lester. Johnny Sauter was on the top of that chart. Johnny's right now being shown in the 11th position. There's a leader on pit road, or second place truck on pit road.
And so they didn't follow the leader as Wally thought they would, right?
Well, in the drivers' meeting today, Series Director Wayne Otten reminded all of the drivers that a lot of people have been getting busted on pit road. Mostly that happens on your entry and on your exit. And he said, we are going to tighten the tolerances on you guys, so be very aware of your speeds. And they reminded Mike Skinner of that a number of times here on the radio. They will go about 2 rounds on the track bar. They'll make that adjustment. 4 tires for this Toyota Tundra. Will there be any gamble of getting these tires a little bit earlier than our leader, Ron Hornaday? Skinner gets his service complete, and he'll go back. We pit under green for the first time in 05.
That was a very, very questionable call right there. Now, if this race cycles around and everyone makes a green flag pit stop, Mike Skinner's going to be in pretty good shape. I wonder if he might have had a problem, because that's very, very early to make his pit stop. And right now, he is so vulnerable. If the caution were to come out, he would be a lap down and virtually out of contention.
Well, he's in second place. He's pitting out of second place. He's pitting, obviously, well before he needs fuel. And yeah, I agree with you, Phil. I question the call. From up here, I guess it's a lot easier than down there on pit road. But I don't know that I would have done that. But now we see Johnny Benson hitting pit road as well.
So Johnny Benson also making his way down. Johnny Benson was running in the top 6 prior to coming in for his stop under green.
See the right side tires going on for Johnny Benson's Toyota. They're going to pull around to the left side. They're going to get this thing full of fuel. He's only got to run about 30 laps. You see the wedge wrench. They're going to make a slight chassis adjustment right there. See the gas man saying he's full, and a little slow down on the tires, it looked like.
Well, I guess Mike Skinner's got them all coming in, because Terry Cook has hit pit road as well.
The one who hasn't hit pit road is Ron Hornaday.
He hasn't got the message yet.
That's what Mike Skinner really wants to see right now, is all these trucks that could put him a lap down if the caution flag out come to make their green flag pit stops. So this race will cycle back around. He will have fresher tires longer than anyone else did.
Jack Sprague running second to Ron Hornaday, 2 of the pioneers of this series. Hornaday with 2 championships. Jack Sprague 3 championships.
Truck owner Dave Fuge said wants to send out best wishes to his father. He's having some surgery tomorrow. He wanted his father to know that he's thinking about it.
Moving up to 3rd, Matt Crafton, now in that number 88. And so Crafton inching his way ever so close to his first victory in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
I think Ron Hornaday right now knows that Mike Skinner's made a pit stop. He knows that Terry Cook's, really his 2 main competitors in this race, have made pit stops. He would love to see this race. There, he's on pit road right now.
Here comes Ron Hornaday. Wendy?
This is Wally Rogers' favorite truck, chassis number 8 for Ron Hornaday. As he comes down pit road, they were waiting to see when they could pit, but obviously the 5 of Mike Skinner did not follow suit of Ron Hornaday by staying out. They will take 4 tires, but no adjustments on Ron Hornaday's truck, and they did put their practice set of tires that had 25 laps left on that set. Ray?
Jack Sprague is here. They're going to go down a half a pound on the left side air pressure. Sprague says the thing is the best it's been all night. We'll see what they've got left for this set of tires. 3-lap scuffs are going on this Chevrolet Silverado. They'll clean off the window, and now back to Wendy.
There was problems in the 6th pit. Greg Hinkfist had to come back in and put another fuel can in. No fuel was going into the truck was the problem that I hear from the gas man, Greg Hinkfist. No fuel was going in. They had to take a little bit extra time on the 6th truck and a lot of space lost on the track.
You see all the fuel dumping. He's trying to reach in. He's trying to get the fuel probe in. He can't get it. He's trying to center up the little ball in the center. That's why he had to sit on pit road when their tire change. Watch, the tire changing is done, and they're still trying to get fuel in that truck. You got to get another can with a different probe to try to get some fuel in this truck. What a you mentioned, Rick, how you got, or John, you got to have a good, clean pit stop here when it really counted. Ron Hornaday didn't get that. 2 weeks in a row, snake bit in the pits. Missed a lug nut a week ago. Now can't get enough fuel in the truck, can't get fuel into the truck on his pit stop, and that virtually eliminates him from an opportunity to win this race. Matt Craftsman out in front looking for his first ever victory, although he has yet to come down pit road. Craftsman out in front of Dennis Setzer.
Welcome back to Texas as our leader, Matt Craftsman, comes to pit road on lap 142. A little bit of strategy, only 2 tires for Matt Craftsman, and they reminded Matt to save your left side tires when you came in. Be careful not to spin the tires.
As he spun the tires, leaving his pit box.
There's Ted Musgrave. He was brought back in because of a missing lug nut. You talk about mistakes on pit road. Unfortunately, Ted Musgrave had worked his way well into the top 10. A mistake on pit road cost him an extra pit stop.
New leader out in front, Dennis Setzer. He is familiar with victory lane at Texas. He won 1 year ago. He won the 400K at Texas, which is run first. We will run a 350K later on in the year in October. But Dennis Setzer won the early race.
Dennis Setzer last pitted on lap number 96, so he can probably go till about lap 155, 160, so he can go a long way, as can Ricky Craven. Ricky Craven last pitted on lap 95, so he can also go probably to lap 155, maybe even farther.
David Rudeman making his way by the 99 of Ricky Craven. So Rudeman into second now. It's Dennis Setzer, David Rudeman, Ricky Craven, Eric Norris, and Steve Park. Those trucks have not pitted as of yet. Ray?
Well, Phil, you're exactly right about Craven. You know, they've made a lot of adjustments on this truck tonight. The first time they came in, they went up on the track bar. Ricky said he didn't like it at all. So on lap 90, they came in and went down a couple of rounds on the track bar. He said it made it much better. But then they decided to come to pit road on lap 95 after that red flag to pull a rubber out of the left rear. Craven says the thing is handling great, and we know the Roush guys get great fuel mileage, so this may really play into the hands of Ricky Craven. Wendy?
Dennis Setzer, our current leader, is currently lap 145, and Dennis Setzer, the magic number for him is 155. I just spoke to crew chief Eric Phillips. You can expect to see the 46 of Dennis Setzer do come in about 9 laps, guys.
What a great run by the 07 right there, Eric Norris. Gene Christensen, Bobby Dowder's team, they had such a good run at Mansfield with both of their trucks, 2 top 10 finishes. And here Eric Norris, he's run well all day. Yes, he hasn't pitted yet, and he's in the top 5, but he stayed on the lead lap, been very, very competitive in his first start of the year.
Very competitive, a great run for that 07 and Eric Norris. Norris, as well as Park, Craven, Rudeman, and Setzer, have yet to come in. They will have to stop at some point in time for fuel. They are hoping that a caution comes out. The Toyota Spotlight lets us take a closer look at where tonight's field of Toyota Tundras are currently running. And right now, it's David Rudeman who's in second. Now, the magic number here is Mike Skinner because he's in 6th and has already pitted. So if everyone cycles through their pit stops, Mike Skinner will be back out in front.
And Mike Skinner is holding his breath right now, hoping that the caution flag does not come out until all these other 5 trucks that haven't pitted yet make their way to pit road.
David Rudeman holding on to second in that Toyota Tundra. A great run a week ago at Dover. We'll see if he can hold on at Texas. Coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Speed Channel is brought to you in part by Briggs & Stratton, the largest manufacturer of pressure washers in America. By Craftsman, celebrating 10 years tough of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. By PartyPoker.net, the world's largest poker school. And by New Mobile One Extended Performance, official motor oil of NASCAR. Dennis Setzer out in front. Ricky Craven made a stop, and so he has cycled through. There are still 4 trucks out in front that are on the lead lap, and the rest have all taken stops, and so they are 1 lap down. Mike Skinner, the first of the 1 lap down trucks.
Right now, you're just betting on a yellow. That's what you're betting on. That's why you're staying out there, because you're losing a lot of time on the trucks that had pitted and got pressure tires. So your only hope now with this strategy is you've got to stay out as long as you can.
Yeah. Dennis Setzer, David Ruderman, Eric Norris, those people right now are probably running at least a half a second slower than the trucks that have made their pit stops and got pressure tires. As you see, David Starr, he's one of the trucks that is pitted. Steve Park, the 62 truck, has not. Pretty easy for those trucks with pressure tires to bypass them. As you mentioned, John, they're gambling on a caution flag. See Johnny Sauter, the 15 truck. He makes his way around the outside of Steve Park.
14 laps to go, and Dennis Setzer makes his way down pit road. Windy.
Dennis Setzer did decide to come down 2 laps earlier than planned, and it sounds like fuel only for Dennis Setzer. A little bit of strategy for the 46 team. Ed crew chief Eric Phillips tops it off, and he's out of here.
That's a pretty good move right there, because Dennis Setzer knows the only way he's going to be able to beat Mike Skinner, because Mike had such a big lead, was to do a little pit strategy. He's only going to be in the pits for about 6 or 7 seconds, where Mike Skinner probably had a 15-second pit stop.
Well, and you know, so often you get out there, and when you get to kind of green flag pit stops where you get people on new tires, and then some of them are out there on old tires, sometimes that breeds a caution, because you've got to make up as much time as you can while you're out there, and you might end up getting in the back of somebody that's going quite a bit slower on older tires.
David Ruderman now leading this race in Texas. A year ago, hit the wall very hard. Would love to have a great ending to this race. The problem is, he still has to stop.
He has to have a caution flag. The 07 of Eric Norris is on pit road right now. So now we're left with just David Ruderman and Steve Park. But what happened when Dennis Setzer made his way to pit road, that put a lot of these trucks back on the lead lap. Dennis Setzer had a pretty good lead over David Ruderman. Right now, we're showing 10 trucks back on the lead lap.
Eric Norris has made his stop. He is headed back out onto the track. Eric Norris with a great run tonight. David Ruderman, a week ago, had owner Darrell Waltrip talking to him. They had tried a little bit of pit strategy a week ago to see if they could win this race, but not able to hold off the hard-charging trucks that had newer, fresh tires than David Ruderman on the restarts.
Still ended up with a top 5 finish, had a great run going. This could be a battle for the win right here, a battle for the lead. Mike Skinner, the 5 truck, when the other 2 trucks pit, David Ruderman and Steve Park, this will be the battle for the lead. Look at Jack Sprague on the inside.
Sprague on the inside. Skinner holding him off. Sprague looks to the outside now. They make it through the quad oval and into turn number 1.
Jack Sprague won one race last year at Mansfield. He told us a few weeks ago that he said, man, we really have to win. He had a good 2nd place run at Mansfield earlier this year. Had a great run going. Look, he's going for the lead.
Or 3 wide as they go through down the backstretch and into turn 3.
I say he's going for the lead. He's really going for the win, because David Ruderman and Steve Park still have to make their way out pit road, I think.
Well, unless somebody has amazing...
Steve Park has made his way to pit road. He is right now on pit road. David Ruderman, the only truck still on the racetrack on his old tires and very low fuel.
We can't imagine that and here comes David Ruderman. He is coming in for his pit stop as well. And so the 17 will relinquish the top spot. That will put the number 5 of Mike Skinner out in front. Whitney.
David spoke about last week at Dover, and he said finishes like that does not change your season. The top 5 finish he had last week at Dover, but it does definitely give you momentum coming into the next race. And he came in as the leader, decided to take fuel only. A little bit of strategy by Jason Overstreet following the strategy of the 46 Dennis Setzer. Now, David's truck has been free all night long. They've been on pit road numerous times, and now he found himself back at the front, so it's just a matter of time before it circles back around, and we'll see where the 17 ends up on the track.
Inside of 10 laps to go, Jack Sprague out in front of Mike Skinner, Johnny Benson, Dennis Setzer, Matt Crafton.
Jack Sprague already has over a 1.5-second lead. Johnny Benson now has moved up from the second position. Mike Skinner is really dropping some positions.
Well, I think it's that set of stickers that Johnny Benson had. He's made good use of them, and he's going to keep on coming back to the front, but I think it could be too little too late because Jack Sprague is really checked out, don't you think?
And those sticker tires for Johnny Benson could be good. Ray?
Guys, Steve Park came down here and got 2.5, maybe 3 seconds worth of gas here, but I see the NASCAR officials coming over, and I believe they're going to tell him that he was too fast exiting pit road, and that may bring Park back down here for a stop and go. Now, we only have 5 or 6 laps to go, but he'll have to serve that penalty before this race is over. And Park had a great finish lined up here, but he's gonna lose it.
Steve Park being shown a lap down in 14th position. Jack Sprague trying to hold off a hard-charging Johnny Benson. Sprague almost 2 seconds in front of Johnny Benson. Johnny Benson with the fresher tires, though. Can he catch him at 5 laps?
Dennis says it's about 2.5 seconds behind our leader, Jack Sprague. What a big day this would be for Jack Sprague to get his first win of the year. There's a good look at Johnny Benson right there. Johnny's got a great run going. Johnny finished second here last year, the very last time we were here.
And I think we got a good look at Dennis Setzer, and in the background you could see Mike Skinner, and he was completely sideways coming off turn 2. You know that he's trying. It's just one of those things where you lead so many laps, you just feel like this race is yours, and then it slips away.
You know, he talked about getting a little bit tight before, so they may have loosened that truck up too much, John. You know, they made an adjustment because they wanted to win this race. They may have gone too far and got them too loose.
How much do you gamble? 4 laps to go, and you can see the truck in front of you. Do you push it just a little bit harder?
You have to. I mean, the whole idea, the whole reason you come is to win the races. Obviously, you're thinking about points, you're thinking about other things, but winning races is what it's about. So Johnny Benson should be pushing as hard as he can push.
1.35 seconds, and he has to work around Eric Norris, or try to work around the 07 of Eric Norris. Eric 1 lap down, and so Johnny Benson gets by him, but that gives a little bit more space for Jack Sprague.
Rick, there's so much difference between first and second. The difference between finishing second, third is not that big a deal. The difference between finishing first and second is huge.
Ray.
Guys, Jack Sprague has 24 career wins in this series, and guess what? All of them have come from qualifying either first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all the way back to 7th. He's never won from any deeper than starting 7th. Guess where he started tonight?
Well,
7th.
Yeah, exactly right.
2 laps to go for Jack Sprague.
Got a little bit of traffic in front of him here.
3-time Craftsman Truck Series winner. The white flag flies. 1 lap to go, just over 1.5 miles. Just under 1.5 miles now. He's been a winner here at Texas before. He wants to add to his win list. He is catching up to Ron Hornaday as far as the all-time winningest driver in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
He's not going to take any chances with Johnny Sauter here.
Coming out of turn number 4, Jack Sprague comes across the start-finish line and wins the Chex 400K.
Johnny Benson comes along second position. Dennis Setzer third. Mike Skinner holds on for 4th, and a great run by Matt Crafton, a top 5.
And Johnny Benson coming home in second for Toyota means they were that close again, and yet still not a victory. The 16 teams celebrating. Chevy congratulates Jack Sprague and the number 16 Chevy Silverado on tonight's big win. No truck has dominated the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series like the Chevy Silverado. Chevy, the winningest name in racing, an American revolution. 25 wins for Jack Sprague, and this his first win in 2005. Tonight's Mobil 1 move of the race is brought to you by the new Mobil 1 Extended Performance, official motor oil of NASCAR. Jack Sprague's having fun. That was the best move he's had all night, being able to enjoy the crowd here at Texas. Another phenomenal crowd on hand to watch great racing in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Look at that spin across the infield.
Jack Sprague knows how to do a burnout. He lit his tires up at Richmond at one time winning a race, and they caught on fire.
He's had a lot of practice. 25 wins for Jack Sprague. Speed Channel's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series post-race show is presented by Craftsman. Let's head down to Victory Lane and Ray Dunlap.
Jack Sprague sits in his Chevy Silverado here doing all the work of unhooking the belts. Chris Showalter, his crew chief, comes in for a celebration there to say hi. I've told you on many shows here in the past that Jack Sprague is in a little bit of a slump. He had never gone more than 24 races in his career without a win. Tonight it's been 29, but guess what? He's on his way back. Jack Sprague puts his name 1 inch closer to Ron Hornaday. He does the dive into the back of the crowd. Confetti coming down everywhere. They show a good victory lane here at Texas, no doubt about it. He's fired up. Sprague-oo. Hey, great truck tonight and a great job of driving. Did you realize that this truck was good enough to get you here tonight? I knew. Hey, come here. Hey, let me tell you one thing. If nobody knows, Dave Fuge's birthday's today, and, well, he's 50, but I won't tell you the number.
I knew after happy hour that the truck was that good, and I was really doubting the pit call there when I was out there on 75-lap tires and on cords and out of control, and I thought I was going to get lapped, but, man, it worked out. They made some adjustments the second stop, and I told them to leave it alone the third stop. It's the best vehicle I've ever had here. The Chevy truck Silverado was awesome. I got to thank Allison Transmission, Quadra-Steer, OnStar, XM Radio, Articat, D&D Power Sports. I don't get to talk much, dude, so you got to stay here. Vortec engines, everybody at Chevrolet. I mean, man, we've been struggling. We've been getting run over, and this truck doesn't have a scratch on it, and it hasn't had a scratch on it all year of our doing, so maybe this is a turnaround. I don't know, but it was awesome.
How hard was it for you mentally to know about this little drought that you've had, because it has been quite a while since you've been to Victory Lane, a year ago at Mansfield?
Yeah, well, what sweeter place to go to Victory Lane? Texas Motor Speedway. I've won here once before. We've had great trucks, Ray, and you know that. I mean, we were sitting there today with a top 5 truck, and I was satisfied with that. I mean, not that I don't want to win, don't get me wrong, but we've been having such terrible luck that just the top 5 would have been great, but this thing was so good. I was like, man, if anybody can beat this thing, they're my hero, but it was awesome.
Congratulations. Enjoy it. Jack Sprague back to Victory Lane. That's number 25.
7 different leaders of this race. Jack Sprague led the most important lap, and that was the last one. He celebrates in front of a great crowd in Texas. Speed Channel's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series post-race show is brought to you by Craftsman, celebrating 10 years tough of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Unofficial results for the Chex 400K. Jack Sprague claiming his 25th victory of his career. Johnny Benson, another solid finish, coming home in second.
Matt Crafton, a great top 5 run. And how about Clay Rogers? Only a second career start, subbing for Regan Smith, finishes 8th.
Eric Norris, an impressive finish, coming home in 12th. Deborah Renshaw, 18th, another good finish for her.
2 good finishes in a row for her, 2 good top 20s.
Jimmy Kite will be running the first ever double as far as the Craftsman Truck Series and an IRL race, which will be held here tomorrow. So Jimmy Kite running open wheel as well as stock.
It's a little easier than doing the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600.
And you've got experience in that, Johnny.
Once.
Take a look at the point standings after race number 9. Ted Musgrave out in front of Ricky Craven, although that gap has closed just a little bit. Bobby Hamilton still in 3rd. Terry Cook taking over the 8th spot. Johnny Benson moves up into 9th. Jack Sprague breaks into the top 10 with his win tonight. Welcome back to Victory Lane at Texas Motor Speedway. Jack Sprague doing the hat dance and now has a cowboy hat on, which is fitting for Texas. Wendy's caught up with our second place finisher, Johnny Benson.
JB has come home second 3 times in his career as he inches closer and closer to your first Truck Series win. The word you described to me was bummed. You're just bummed at this. What was it going to take to get past the 16? Was it something that held you up?
No, well, I mean, this, you know, Jack had to go through the same traffic I did. We were pretty quick there at the end, and Greg Ely and all the guys who built up this race and just done a tremendous job. And we were catching them, but just ran out of time. And, you know, really got to thank Toyota Certified Used Vehicles for coming on board here for a full sponsor for this race. Hopefully for a couple more, but and everything went good. Our pit stops were decent. Everything was good, just ran out a little bit of time.
Johnny moves into the top 10 in points and gives him a little bit of momentum going into next week. As we go into Michigan, Toyota did get their first victory there, so it could be some luck for Johnny Benson.
Our next race will be Michigan International Speedway. That's a week from tonight.
Johnny Benson gets to go home to Michigan. He's from Grand Rapids, so a little homecoming for Johnny Benson.
Jack Sprague continuing to celebrate, and he, as Ray had mentioned, he's inching oh so close to having the most wins in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. The man who holds that mark is the 6 of Ron Hornaday. He has 27 victories in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and with this win tonight, Jack Sprague moves to 25 wins.
It looked like Ron Hornaday may have a shot at another win tonight. They had some trouble on pit road. Still ends up with a 6th place finish, but 2 weeks in a row with trouble on pit road for Ron Hornaday.
Well, John Andretti, we want to thank you for joining us up here in the booth in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. I'm sure you saw an exciting race tonight.
It was really exciting, and to see Mike Skinner out in front. Johnny Benson's doing the same thing he did in Nextel Cup. Second, but first is coming.
Last time Johnny Benson was second was a year ago here at Texas. So 4 second place finishes for Johnny Benson. It was a dominant performance by the 5 truck tonight, but it just didn't work out for him. It was the man in the 16 who was able to hold on and claim win 25 at Texas.